Okay, so thank you for attending this session on SAP in the cloud. Going to start off today introducing myself and my fellow speaker. I'm Roy Ferrari. I work for Rackspace. I'm our commercial manager, and my job is to run our SAP practice across EMEA. And my colleague, Dr. Michael Missbach, has been in the SAP space for more than 25 years. He currently runs the competency center here at Rackspace. And between myself and Michael, we've written 8 books on SAP, and here are the 8 books that Michael has written. What we're going to talk about is SAP on the cloud, which is actually one of Michael's books, and we're going to do it via looking at the 6 honest serving men, where, what, when, how, and why Rackspace. So we're going to start off with where. Now, we used to get a lot of questions asking us, should I migrate my SAP systems to the cloud? And that's no longer the question. About 72% of customers are now moving their SAP systems to the cloud. So the question we get asked much more is, which is the best cloud for SAP? We are agnostic. We don't actually mind which cloud, but we are also opinionated as well. But knowing the clouds out there, for example, Google, why would you move to Google? Because they put everything inside the same network. Once you're in the secure and fast Google network, which is where we go to when we're testing to see if the internet works, we're in the system, and therefore the communications between each of the systems is very, very quick. Alternative, of course, is AWS. Now, they have very secure systems, and they're all built and run by AWS, and they've probably got the most clients, although that's questionable now because they have the first to market advantage within the cloud. And then we've got, of course, Azure from Microsoft. They've got the knowledge within Microsoft, and they've also got all the hardware. So you've got all these choices on which is the best cloud for you. Now, if everything else being equal, which is what we always say, and there is no specific reason why you would choose another cloud, we would suggest, because all SAP solutions are really agnostic within the cloud infrastructure, and because the important thing is having SAP specific know-how knowledge, and because of their long-term partnership, and because Microsoft use SAP, and because of Project Embrace, which is where SAP say they favor working with Microsoft and they'll do all the reference architecture, our solution would normally be to look at SAP on Azure as the first point of call. And as I said, providing everything else is equal. So that then brings us on to when to migrate. And this is actually a very important topic as well. Now, we know that SAP has extended their support for the Business Suite until 2027, but that hasn't changed HANA requirement. So you do need to be off any other database and on HANA by the start of 2025. And that actually has created a problem. Now, I've known about this problem for a while, but here it was documented in black and white last year at Sapphire Now. And it basically says that by the end of this year, there's going to be not enough architects and consultants in order to be able to do S4 migrations in the world. Now, that's going to create a situation where supply and demand is going to be very expensive for you to do migrations, as well as difficult to get good quality people. So what we would say is the best time to actually look at doing an S4 or an SAP migration to the cloud is actually now. Get it done while you can. But then, of course, that gives around why migrate at all. And at this stage, I'm going to bring in Michael because that's his expertise.
Thank you. Because here comes into technology rather than business. Now, SAP is pushing hard for HANA. And in one time in history, HANA was called Hasso's new application, and so, or architecture. And there's a reason why they do this pushing. So here you have the whole history of SAP on one page, beginning at the very bottom with some of you know there was a product called R2 running on punch card machines on the mainframe, later replaced by code which were able to run on Unix machines, later on Windows, and that was the famous R3 system. And it was the central system to run each and every process in a company. Over time, the name changes to ECC, but in addition to the ECC system, SAP added other components based on the same technology to do special things for special departments. They added the CRM system for sales. They added the APO system for production people and many more. And as one of the very first offsprings, we added a BW to be able to run reports for manager while transaction on the R3 system has still some performance. Now, over time, all these products evolve. Sometimes they split, sometimes they merge, they always change the name. But at the very end, you end up in a system landscape, and this is what we see at most customers, with plenty of SAP systems. That's not just R3 or now ECC. You usually always have a BW, you find SCM systems, SRM systems, CRM systems, you name them. And all these systems have to exchange data to each other to stay consistent. And Hasso's dream, Hasso's vision was, what if we can bring them all back to one single source of truth with one single database, like at the very beginning, where you don't have to interchange data in between systems of the same flock because they simply draw it from the same source. Now that was not so easy because with the databases a few years ago available, you can do either transactions or you can do either reports in a most optimal way. So this is why he had to invent HANA, which is an in-memory database, but it's also a dual-purpose database with two technologies built under the hood, column store and raw store. And with this integrated hybrid technology, SAP is now capable to go back to the roots. They call that simplification, and the product you see at the very top of this onion is S4. Next slide, please. So without any discussion, S4 is the ultimate goal, and it's has to run on HANA because only with HANA you can do both transactions and ad hoc reporting in the same way with top performance. Now, because it's in memory, obviously it needs memory, plenty of that. So where it used to be around quarter a terabyte in the past for a big system, now you can easily need 3 terabyte or up to 25. I know several customers in the world running HANA systems of this size. And from a technology side, which is maybe even more challenging than the simply memory demand, is that storage plays a role when it comes to performance. Because write performance to storage is the key for transaction response time in a HANA database. And read performance is the key for analysis on historical data in a in-memory database. And the growth of the memory demand is not simply dependent on the growth of your data, it's also grow with the complexity of the reports you want to run on the system. Now, this puts massive demands on the hardware infrastructure. And the good message is they can be fulfilled by public clouds, which are fully certified for this reason with HANA. Next slide, please. Now, if you are around with SAP for a while, you know that in the past, each and everything was about CPU power. Everybody was looking of the SAP's numbers determined in benchmarks, which were like a Formula One race. Now, the good message is, thanks to technology development, now a 2-socket or 4-socket system is more powerful than a 64 or 128 CPU behemoth a few years ago. Just have a look here on all the benchmarks since the very beginning and just draw some lines between the past and today. So CPU power is simply not an issue anymore. You have simply plenty of them. So the next frontier, as said, is CPU power. Next slide, please. It's memory. Next slide, please. And disk. And this is here just an example from, in this case, Microsoft, how you have to stripe even SSDs to get sufficient performance. And here you have an excellent example where good documentation is key, because this is, you can't find that in marketing papers. This is where you really have to dig deep into the systems to find the necessary hints and how to configure and how to size all the different volumes in a SAP HANA system. And what you see also is that the HANA system always run on Linux. That's the only supported platform. And you have two flavors, either SUSE or somebody else. And SUSE is, without any discussion, the leading edge here. Next slide, please. Now, it's in memory. Now, for good reason, SAP or the computer memory is called volatile memory. So it's going away if power is going down. Yes, I know there's Intel now with the NVRAM, but it's not fast enough for HANA. So you can use it to some degree, but the bigger part of the main memory will be still volatile. So what happens if a machine is going down? Yes, every cloud provider now grants extremely high reliability per VM. Yes, the premium disks are mirrored 3 times and the VM can be booted within 8 minutes. But what happens to your data? What happens if it's a multi-terabyte database? The VM boots in 8 minutes, but not a database. So it can take hours to bring a HANA system up and running again. And here, there's a good message that SAP has a built-in replication methodology inside HANA, and it even comes without extra costs. So thanks to HANA system replication, you can do either synchronous or larger distances asynchronous, replicate an up and running database to a second data center, which you can make available within minutes. So whatever you happen, in worst case, to your production system, you will never have a downtime of an hour or so. So always faster. And even you can do read on the second database, on the hot standby, and SAP, since the newest release, even enable you to do something they call secondary time travel, like on a Mac, or in the old days, we called that a shadow database. That helps you to mitigate also logical disasters. Next slide, please. Now, after we discussed why you should go to HANA, why you should go to HANA on the cloud, we have now to discuss how you can do it. And here, the good message is that such a migration is definitely not a risk. It has been done thousands of times. What you simply have to distinguish is between the different flavors of a migration. If this is going from, let's say, an ECC system on a whatever database, on whatever operating system, to an ECC system on the cloud, then it's just a transition. We don't touch the data as such. It's exported, imported. And because we don't change any business processes or custom code, only technical tests are necessary. Give me a weekend of downtime and I move your system as it is today to the cloud. Now, if we go to HANA, which also enforces Linux, then SAP call that a OSDB migration. The good message again is we don't touch your business processes, we don't touch your custom code. Give me a weekend and you have an up and running ECC system on HANA on the cloud. Different story, and we come to that in some more detail in another slide, is when you go to S4, because this does involve changes on the business processes, and you have to adapt your custom code to the changed data structures of S4. So there's much more coding and testing necessary, but again, we can do it for you just on a weekend. So if we go to, as always, the nifty details now, there's another good message. If, for example, you run your system today on SAP's HANA Enterprise Cloud and for some reasons want to change it, or you already run on one cloud and prefer another one, thanks to HANA system replication, all you have to establish is a replicated connection from the old system to the new environment, wait some time while productive till the synchronization is done, and then you simply force and fail over, and you are done. So this is in near zero downtime, far below 1 hour. So you are never fenced in the cloud. If you are on HANA, you can easily go to another one. Next slide, please. Now there's one thing where you have to take care for. Your ECC system you want to move to HANA has to be at least on EHP 6, Enhancements Package 6, with the Service Pack 16. That's the minimum. Now there are plenty of customers who have older releases for sometimes very good reasons. Now does that mean that we first have to run through the process of the upgrade, including a downtime, and then in a second step to the HANA migration to the cloud? And here the good message is, no, this can be even done in one step. Definitely you need experienced consultants doing that, as Rackspace can provide. And then thanks to the data migration option, DMO, of the SAP Software Update Manager, SUM, this can be done in one step. So even you go from a dual stack system, which is not supported anymore, to a single stack system with HANA from whatever database you want, we can do it in one step. And again, I need 1 weekend of downtime for that. Now, as also discussed, next slide, please. S4 is a little bit different because with this simplification, which HANA has SAP enabled to do, they reduced the numbers of database tables from 25,000 in ECC to a little bit less than 7,000 in S4. Why we are able to do that? Because most of this table, or nearly all of them, contained only metadata. We need that in the past to make the database running faster, but HANA is built in a way that it can do all this metadata ad hoc when it's needed. So there's no need to store them anymore. And that works wonderful and fine with the new S4 code, which is also optimized for exactly the new structure. Unfortunately, at setup, which is trying to write into a table which is not existing anymore, would have some trouble. So this is the reason why all custom code, the famous setups, must be checked with the SAP custom code check tool within a S4 migration if they do such ugly things, or then we have to be rewritten, or maybe we are now simply obsolete because the new S4 code delivered that what the custom code has done by default, or there is no other way to change the custom code, which can be a nightmare because in many customers which have on average 5,000 to 15,000 of these setups, some of them are so old that the guys who wrote them are retired in the meantime and nobody can find the documentation anymore. So what to do now? Yeah, you can send all this code offshore and wait for weeks or months to get it transformed. Then you have to test it, then you have to send it again, because not everything was as you want. And so you can easily lose a year with a S4 migration project just with the code correction. Rackspace can offer you an alternative. Thanks to a partnership we have, we can unload your setup apps, run it through an automatic conversion program, and you get, after 2 weeks, your complete converted code with an extreme high quality. So it just has to be tested one time by the line of business people, and then we are ready to go for the complete migration. And then it's again technical migration, just a weekend. And so you can make your S4 migration as easy as a HANA migration, both together in one step and to the cloud. Next slide, please. Now, the question is why you should do that with Rackspace, because everything is well documented on the web pages of all the cloud providers. However, you need to know SAP in and out, especially all the subnodes, all the wikis, all the community notes, and all the stuff you find on the subportal about HANA. It's a little bit different from classical databases. For example, there are new HANA patches every 6 to 7 weeks, and each of them has around 120 individual fixes. The HANA parameters change sometimes from 1 week to another, the recommendations for that. And here again, Rackspace is the one who takes care for all of that. You don't have to read all the subnodes, the notes, the portal notices. We do it for you, and we do it good.
Thank you, Michael. So Michael's actually the only person that I know that does read every single SAP note that there is. So sticking on to Rackspace, a lot of people don't know Rackspace within the SAP community. We basically have a number of business applications that we do manage, and that's the reason why you would look at Rackspace. We are basically a recognized leader in moving customers through the clouds and manage them in the clouds when they get there. That's the view of Gartner, it's the view of IDC, and the view of Forrester as well. So it gives you a degree of expertise in terms of Rackspace can help you migrate to the cloud. So in summary, if we look at what we discussed today, when we talked about when do I migrate, and the thoughts on that were you need to sort of migrate now because of the end of the support in the 2025, you're going to get a lack of resources at that time. Where do you migrate to? And because of the fact that the certified support for SAP and applications, the preferred solution for us is to go to Azure. However, we also have clients on GCP and we have clients on AWS. And how do you do it? Obviously, that's with Rackspace. Lean on the experts. That's what we're here to do. We're ready to help you. So the next steps, you can happily reach out to me. We actually have guides, the very technical guides written by Michael on how to run your SAP system on Azure, on Google, or on AWS. And if you reach out to me at royferrari@rackspace.co.uk, I'll send you a copy of these books with lots of links that can help you out and make sure you get into the cloud very quickly. What I would like to do is thank you very much for listening today, and I hope you got some benefit from today's session.
Thank you also from my side. Bye-bye.